deliver on the Medicaid expansion, so we hope you have a plan. Just kidding, just kidding. But,
we do.
We're counting on you. Basically, the states that across the spectrum have found, according to Brookings, that they do not regret their decisions to expand Medicaid, and that in fact there has been no significant increase in spending from state funds, and in several states there's actually been reduced, not increased spending as a result of the expansion. So could you comment on that, what the projections are for Virginia, and whether those are good arguments for it, and who needs to be pushed on it?
Yes, I'd be happy to comment on those things. I do want to start out, however, by saying that the difference between the House and the Senate this year was that the House had elections last year, we didn't. 40 people in the
Next
Senate,
year.
40 senators that were this year were the same 40 who were there last year. Yeah. So we're still working upstream on a few things, but we are making significant progress.
Thank you.
And I can assure you there is a difference in the General Assembly this year. I get to see it firsthand because for years, this is my 11th year down there, for years, I've had 4 constituents who served in the House of Delegates, none of whom voted with me among most of the issues. This year, I have 20% of the 15 people that are new are my constituents.
Wow.
Kathy Tran, Hala Ayala, and Danica Rome are all my constituents, and let me tell you, that makes a world of difference. So,
wow.
So we do have some significant change. The other big change that I just wanted to personally address was that this year was the first year that I've been down there that Jerry Creedon wasn't in Richmond.
Oh, yeah.
I got to know Jerry very well more than 30 years ago when he and I first served on the Human Services Council for Fairfax County, and then worked with him on a number of things. My wife and I, when our daughter was at Mount Vernon High School, Jerry had many of the graduates in 2001 at Good Shepherd Church when they were younger, and we got him to come back and do the baccalaureate service for all the kids at Mount Vernon. But nothing can top the fact that 5 years ago, our daughter got married, and the 2 officials at the performing the wedding were my minister, Henry Brenton from Fairfax Presbyterian, and Jerry Creedon. So it's a personal loss to me as well. So thank you for everything that he did. So appreciate that. We are going to get Medicaid expansion. There's no question about that. In fact, we have a majority of the Senate conferees, not even counting me, who are in support of it. So we already have the votes on the conference committee to be able to get it done. The conference committee, as Mark Sickles talked about earlier, there are 6 House members on the conference committee, and there are 7.5 Senate members. There are 5 Republicans and 2 Democrats who are official conferees. The Senate Majority Leader and the other co-chair of the Senate Finance Committee asked me to be a conferee this year, so they were prepared to appoint me as a conferee. That would have made 8 in the Senate, so the House objected. So the compromise was struck that I'm technically listed as an advisor, but I sit in on all the meetings, I sit at the table, I make the arguments and everything. I just don't get to sign the document at the end. That's fine with me. We will get it done. So we do have 2 of the Republicans that are already on the conference committee who are already publicly supporting Medicaid expansion, and there are several others who are may come around over the next month or so. The one that I would say probably makes the most sense for people in this room to contact to try to increase the number in the Senate who are supporting it is Jill Vogel. Jill Vogel lives in Fauquier County. She represents all of Fauquier County, but she also represents a little bit of Loudoun County and then goes out to the Winchester area. So she's the one who's closest to us here that is a possible vote on this issue. So if you want to contact somebody, that would be the person to do it.
That's very helpful.
One of the things that I had a lot of bills that passed this year dealing with everything from some mental health issues to data and having a centralized data system rather than a bunch of silos of data to help us make good decisions both in the public sector but also in the private sector. accountancy bills, a wide variety of things that did pass. But there were two of my bills that did not pass that I want to highlight. One was the straight Medicaid expansion. I carried that bill in the Senate. And the other was the hospital assessment to cover the funding of that, so that there are no state general fund dollars going into Medicaid expansion. And the hospitals have stepped forward in a big way, and they need to be recognized for that. They guaranteed that they will provide the funding, the state share of the funding for Medicaid expansion. They also have volunteered to provide the state share to allow an increase in the payment rate. Right now, hospitals, on average, when they have someone who's a Medicaid patient in their facility, they get about 70% of what it costs. So the payment rate on every patient they have, they lose 30 cents on every dollar they're spending, even for the people who do have Medicaid coverage and do have that insurance. With the proposal that will be before us, I think in the budget, in the final budget, we will be able to increase that from 70% up to 88%. So it will come a lot closer to helping cover the full cost. And the hospitals have done it, because they know it's the right thing to do, and also that it's so important to the Commonwealth as a whole. And they've also been able to structure it in a way that they do not see any hospitals coming out on the short end of the stick on it. So they won't gain as much as they would if the state were putting in our share, but none of them, they don't expect any of them will lose. One of the things that I think is important is to make a wide variety of arguments on Medicaid expansion. This year, the Senate Majority Leader, when we were discussing a little bit on the floor, said, we've heard all these arguments that you're making, that we're losing a certain amount of federal dollars that Virginia taxpayers are paying that aren't coming back to Virginia, that there are 300,000 or something like that people who would benefit from that, that the states that have implemented have seen reductions in many instances in their insurance rates for the private sector. The growth is much less there than in states like Virginia. So that there are a lot of things there. So we've heard all your arguments. Give us something new. So when we presented the argument on the floor of the Senate, Janet Howell and I did the amendment to the proposed amendment to the budget to incorporate Medicaid expansion in the budget. And we knew it wasn't going to pass, but we wanted to make sure we made our statements and made our arguments. And what I did was point out the benefit that this makes to the economy of Virginia. That this is not just something that is going to benefit the people who are the 300,000 individuals. It's going to benefit businesses. It's going to benefit the individuals who are paying the health insurance premiums. But more importantly, it's going to benefit our economy in Virginia, and that is vitally important right now. Virginia, in 1790, when the first census was taken, we were the most populous state in the nation. For the next century and a half, every decade, our percent of the national population went down. So we were not growing as fast as the country as a whole for basically 150 years. Right before World War II, coincidental, at the time the population boom started in Northern Virginia, the population of Virginia began growing faster than the nation as a whole. And with it, our economy began expanding much more rapidly than the nation as a whole. And income levels increased dramatically, so that we went from basically a poor southern state to one of the top states in the nation in terms of incomes across the entire country. However, after 75 years of unabated growth, where we were, in terms of population, economy, and income, were surpassing the national average, starting in October of 2013, when sequestration hit, we have been below the national average in all those categories. And so it has taken a major, the economy of Virginia has taken a major hit. There were a lot of people who said, well, that's going to happen, and it's going to affect, when that happens, it's going to affect Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads, which are obviously heavily dependent upon the federal government. But what's happened is that has spilled over into every corner of Virginia. In the first part of this decade, before the sequestration hit, between 2010 and 2013, about 90% of the cities and counties in Virginia had population increase. Now, in the last 4 years, between 2013 and 2017, 2/3 of the cities and counties have had population decreases. So we are having, and it's affected South Side, Southwest, the Richmond area, everywhere you look, there's been an impact. And so we need to make decisions that are not only good for the people we're helping, but are good for our economy in Virginia, and this is definitely one of them. And I think those are the types of arguments that can help us build the margin more. Two of the things we're looking at doing as part of this Medicaid